Welcome into the FanDuel Sunday Night Football Recap. Woo! I am hyped myself up for this Sunday night. I am JL, your co-host today, joined by Jay and Joey. How you guys doing today?
Good. I'm good. Watching some football all day.
Been better. Did not have a good fantasy day in my most important leagues. But you know what? I'm here with you gentlemen talking some football, so it could be a lot
Week
worse.
4 has been brutal. I have gotten either wrecked or I've wrecked somebody else in every single league I'm in. There is no middle ground. Everybody's dead.
That's how you win championships. So McCaffrey just got a touchdown against the Cardinals. That's exciting.
Thank God. Thank God. Oh my goodness. We are getting in. All right, let's get into our Sunday night week 4 recap. We've got Craig in the chat. 35 and straight vibing. Welcome in, Craig. Hope you had a good day of football. Listen, if you're not already, make sure that you hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to FanDuel on YouTube, Twitch, everywhere. Follow them on Twitch. They are fantastic. They have content creators putting stuff out every single day, and it's great, including us. We're here twice a week, and it's great content. All right, boys. Should we get into the first game, or do you guys want to go over the Sunday night recap first? Or Sunday night preview, sorry.
Let's talk about tonight's game. I'm excited for it as the Bucs fan.
Let's see if I can pull it up. Joey, why don't you give us the details?
So the Bucs are playing the Chiefs tonight. Where's the game at? Let me pull it up here. Oh, Jay, how about you give us the details on that? Because that is
just passing along. It is Kansas City Chiefs. You failed miserably, Joey. I gave you a test, and you just absolutely I passed you the ball, and you just fumbled it all over the place.
Big time.
My goodness.
2-1 Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, great! Now he comes in. This guy.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady has been struggling so far this season, but it looks like Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, and Russell Gage will all be back. So I expect a bounce back from him. We've got Patrick Mahomes, who's still trying to figure out what this offense looks like with no Tyreek Hill. He had a disappointing game last week. It wasn't bad, but it was not too shabby. There's definitely, it's going to be an interesting game. We, got the GOAT versus the potential GOAT down the road.
The GOAT versus the potential GOAT.
The GOAT versus the baby GOAT.
What is, if he's not a potential GOAT, what is he now?
He's a kid. That's what a baby goat's called, right? A kid.
Yeah. The GOAT versus the kid.
We got Mark in here saying, what's up, guys? What's up, Mark? Welcome in. And Albert, hello, everyone. Good day, Albert. Yes, the Chiefs versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This feels like it should be a great game, right? It feels like it should. The spread is 1.5.
It's going to be like 8-11 at the end of the night.
As long as it's not that, what was it, 49ers last week or 2 weeks ago?
11-10.
I called
that. Was awful.
You did.
There's just going to be a stinker. I'm letting my daughter I'm letting my daughter stay up and watch the game tonight because her birthday is tomorrow. So
that's so nice. Is she a big Bucs fan too, or is she like rebelling against you and going Chiefs?
No, so she'll root for who I tell her to, which is nice because it's exactly for now. But yeah, about 2 weeks ago, like we watched our first Monday night game together, and she like really had fun. She was asking me questions.
That's awesome.
So every week now we've watched a game together. I've like let her stay up late. And we had the hurricane, so Thursday night I let her stay up and watch with me.
Now, is she actually interested, or is she just playing you so she can stay up extra late?
No. Like, and we play word games, like with Joe Burrow. I was like, okay, how do you say his name? And she like sounded out, and so I would pause
Joe Burrow
the game. Yeah, and she'd be like Burrow. Like, good job. She's 5, so
bonk.
She'll be 6 tomorrow.
Oh.
Well, happy early birthday!
Happy early birthday. All right, so let's get back into this game. QB, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. You're firing both guys up, right? Tom Brady's been pretty disappointing fantasy-wise, but are you guys worried at all? You're firing Tom Brady if you got him?
Yeah, he's top 10 quarterback this week for me.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I need Tom Brady to perform for my Scott Fishbowl league.
Absolutely.
On the running back side of things, we got Leonard Fournette, Rashad White on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers side, and the CEH, Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco on the Chiefs side. Fournette, it's been pretty decent. Joey, where do you think Fournette finishes tonight? You think he has like a good night, or is this going to be a mediocre night?
I've got him ranked as like a top 12 running back. Now there's some like Rashad Penny had an extremely incredible game today. So I don't know if Lenny will finish top 12 now, but hey, there's a chance for it. But I think it's a really good matchup for him. I'm actually a little excited to see how much they use Isaiah Pacheco tonight, because for me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is kind of a stinker. Yeah, he's been falling into the end zone, but the yardage really hasn't been there for him. And I want to see if they're going to kick the tires on Pacheco a little bit more than they normally do.
Who's number 2 in the Cardinals?
The running back, Darrell Williams.
Darrell
No, it's
Williams?
Brown.
Marquise Brown. 2, Marquise Brown. I thought you meant the number 2
Okay,
running
they're
back.
showing a highlight. He looked good in that highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You're firing up your Leonard Fournette. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be a stinker, but you're interested in seeing Isaiah Pacheco, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
just, I want to, they're going to have to kick the tires on the kid sooner or later. Oh, Russ just had a big pass to KJ Hamler.
KJ Hamler. All right, moving on to the wide receivers here. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think Chris Godwin is probably the biggest question mark for most people. Jay, are you confident in firing up Chris Godwin tonight?
I wouldn't say confident because he came back week 1 and then re-injured his hamstring. I'm the type I play my studs unless I have another suitable option. At this point, you likely have already made that decision. This being the Sunday night game. In the leagues that I do have Chris Godwin, I did start him. If until he's 100% active, make sure you have a backup set up. But he's one of those guys. If he's active, I'm putting him in my lineups.
Yeah, you got to. And then any of these secondary options, Russell Gage, Mecole Hardman, you got to say Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster are probably secondary options as well. Are you guys throwing in any of these guys into your lineups?
Yeah, I've got Juju in a few places today, and then Gage as a spot filler a little bit here and there. With Brashad Perryman out, I think Gage might be very serviceable today.
We got a question from Albert in the chat. Said, would you play Godwin or Ayuk this week? Godwin or Ayuk? What do you think, Jay?
Oh, that is tough. I think I would go Godwin just because Jimmy G did not look good last week. Granted, it was an ugly game, but I still like the upside of Godwin over, whatever the offense in San Francisco is going to look like. But they lost Trent Williams as well on the offensive line, so Jimmy G is going to face even more pressure. It's going to be ugly.
Gonna be ugly. That's what Jay says. All right, guys, let's get on with our recap.
Woo. Before we hop to the recap, I want to jump in and just mention some of the injuries for today, if you're good with that, Jay.
Yeah, please.
So there were some injuries. Javonte Williams left the game in Denver with a knee issue. He was out for the game. And the interesting thing is Mike Boone was actually the one getting touches. I'm not sure if it has to do with a fumble that Melvin Gordon had earlier in the game, but it's something to keep an eye on. If Melvin Gordon is in the doghouse and Javonte Williams misses time, Mike Boone might be somebody to keep an eye on. Brian Axel Hoyer left in the first quarter with a head injury, did not come back, but Bailey Zappi, also known as Zappy, came in and played pretty serviceable. They are currently tied with the Green Bay Packers with 2 minutes left in the game, I believe. So he's not looked too bad. While Mac Jones is out, he could potentially be the starter. Jonathan Taylor actually tweaked his ankle. He had it rolled in this game. He said he was fine, but it bears watching because the Colts play on Thursday night. So if it is something that is going to cause him to miss a game, this would be it because, he's a short week, like JL said. I don't think it's anything serious, but there is the potential for him to miss Thursday night, something to keep an eye on. Isaiah McKenzie suffered a concussion. If he did not return to the game, and if he is out, that could be good for Gabe Davis because McKenzie was kind of stepping up as a potential number 2 option. So there could be more targets for Gabe Davis. And then Daniel Jones left the game with an ankle injury. Tyrod Taylor came in, who got a concussion, and Daniel Jones had to come back in. There's potential that the Giants could be without both Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor going to London against the Green Bay Packers next weekend. So again, something to keep an eye on. If that's the case, the Green Bay Packers defense for fantasy would be somebody definitely worth targeting off the waiver wire if they're available.
Man, that was wild watching Saquon just take some wildcat snaps.
That was awesome.
That was really cool. They ran out of quarterbacks if you missed it. So Saquon Barkley was out there taking snaps.
Yeah, running the wild.
All right. let's get into our first game here. Minnesota Vikings at New Orleans Saints. The Vikings took home the win 28-25. This is our London game, 9:30 in the morning. I know I was up early watching this game. I think you two were as well with your children.
I was watching it with you, JL.
You were? Oh yeah.
Well, we're on the morning show together.
That's true. Yeah, part of it for sure. That was this morning. Wow. Feels like
6 a.m. I was up.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Actually, it feels like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings pulled this one out. It was a very good game. Justin Jefferson, fantastic. 10 receptions, 147 yards. No touchdowns. But he did have, no receiving touchdowns, but he did have a rushing touchdown for Justin Jefferson and showing off his best Debo impression. Hopefully everybody who was worried about Justin Jefferson last week is no longer worried. Adam Thielen, 8 receptions, 72 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns for 11.2 fantasy points. FanDuel is half PPR, I believe. It's pretty good for the old guy and the young buck, Justin Jefferson.
Young buck. You sound like an old guy saying young buck.
Young buck. With Thielen coming back, this is I feel like the first game he's really put some fantasy points. Are you guys confident throwing Adam Thielen in your lineups going forward?
Go ahead, Joey.
I'm absolutely comfortable throwing him. He was great last week. He was good this week. I think, this might be his swan song, his farewell to the NFL, but it looks like he's going to go out on a high note.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, he's not necessarily a super high ceiling, but he's definitely a high floor kind of player in what should be in most games an explosive offense. I know we make fun of Kirk Cousins a lot, especially UJL, but he has some pretty big games from time to time. And Adam Thielen is the guy that he looks to on those third downs when he needs his security blanket. Adam Thielen's that guy. Looks to him in the end zone as well. So Justin Jefferson is definitely the one in this situation, but Adam Thielen is pretty comfortably in my starting lineups for fantasy as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dalvin Cook, we were worried about it coming into this week, whether he was going to be healthy enough to play, whether he was going to suit up. We knew all week that it was likely he was going to be playing with a brace, but he was the dominant running back in this offense. 20 carries, 76 yards, 2 receptions, 10 receiving yards, no touchdowns this game, 9.6 fantasy points. So Madison actually ended up finishing pretty close to Dalvin Cook on only 3 carries and 3 yards because he got that receiving touchdown, that nice 15-yard receiving touchdown. This is just business as usual, right, fellas? Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, nothing too surprising here.
He came out of this game uninjured, so I'm happy with it.
Just like everybody was, worried that Dalvin Cook wasn't going to be active. He's active, and then Alexander Madison gets the touchdown. Exactly what you do not want to hear, but that's the way fantasy works.
It's just the way that it goes sometimes. Moving on to the New Orleans side of this ball. Taysom Hill got a touchdown. Chris Olave got a touchdown.
I'm just glad Simon isn't on because he would be tilting with a Taysom Hill touchdown.
Oh, absolutely. He would be. Andy Dalton playing in this game, 20 completions on 28 attempts, 236 yards and a touchdown. Not too bad for old Andy Dalton. Throwing to Chris Olave, showed up again, man. Chris Olave has got to be one of the most impressive rookie wide receivers in this class. He's just shown up from day one. Four receptions, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Olave, he's a must start every week, right, guys? Are any of you sitting him for situation?
No, I mean, it's not only that he looks great, because a lot of rookies will look good out there. I mean, but are they going to get the usage? And they're using Chris Olave. And I don't think it really has much to do with Michael Thomas not being there, because his usage has been really good every week. So I am 100% happy firing up Chris Olave every week going forth.
I completely agree. He's an every week starter. And, he did it with Andy Dalton. He did it with Jameis Winston. He's done it with Michael Thomas on the field. He's done it without Michael Thomas on the field. So pretty much every situation you can imagine so far on the season, he's performed. He's somebody I completely agree with Joey. Locked and loaded in my lineup every single week as probably a middle of the road to high end wide receiver too.
Yeah, on the season, 25.9% target share in this offense. 25.9%. The next closest is Michael Thomas at 15.8%. And it only goes up in just the last 3 games. So, it's a small sample size. We have 4 weeks working with, but that's promising. It's very promising. That high number of targets in this offense, very, very worthy. We got Devon in here say, what's up?
Hey,
what's
Devon. Up? How's it going?
What is going on? Albert asking, who's the Giants' third string QB? I don't think there is one.
I have an announcement to make.
It is Joey.
Just kidding.
I actually think it's Davis Webb. If
Davis,
I
and that's what
that's a name.
Said, Albert. I think it's Davis Webb. Wow, Scamps.
Jeez, good job, Scamps.
Not good job, me. Thanks.
Yeah,
good job, Jay.
Scampers.
Thank you.
Great job,
that's
Scampers.
Right. I'll see the credit to my favorite chat cat.
And then on the running back side of the New Orleans Saints, a lot of conversation of Mark Ingram. I think a lot of people expected Mark Ingram to be the guy there this week with Alvin Kamara out. Well, I should probably start with Alvin Kamara, who was the big headline news this morning, being ruled out last minute before a lot of people here in the States woke up. So I know a lot of people were angry on Twitter that they did not get to swap in somebody for Alvin Kamara when he was seemingly
angry on Twitter. I am shocked, Jay.
Very surprising.
I saw there was a lot of discourse about that. And listen, there's going to be a London game. Set that alarm. Check. You never know what could happen. So that's on you.
100%.
100% on you.
Yeah, I get it. I get
hate
both
to
ways.
See it, but
hate to see it. Not much you can do. But yeah, so no Alvin Kamara. We had Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray filling in. Latavius Murray getting 11 carries to Mark Ingram's 10. So Latavius Murray had 11 carries, 57 yards, and a rushing touchdown, as well as 1 reception for 8 yards. While Mark Ingram had 10 carries for 30 yards, but he had 3 receptions of 13 yards. So a little more usage in the passing, the passing game than Latavius Murray. What do you guys think about? Are either of these guys valuable enough to be rostering in most leagues? Given that Alvin Kamara is maybe in, maybe out.
I would, if you've got Kamara, I would find a way to hold on to Ingram. This Latavius Murray game, I'm not putting too much stock into it, to be honest. That's just me though, because they just activated him today. I don't know though.
Honestly, I'm not interested in either one of these guys. And like you said, they activated him today, and he still got the work. Outperformed Mark Ingram from a fantasy perspective. I think they're just gonna kind of patchwork this backfield together until Alvin Kamara is back. So, I mean, in deeper leagues, if you have to have, if you're just scraping the bottom of the barrel for a starter, Mark Ingram would be the guy. I prefer, even with Latavius Murray looking a little better, but I'm avoiding both if at all possible.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And Craig said, including JL liked Ingram. You are mistaken, my friend. I was using Ingram because I was desperate. There's a difference. There's a massive difference.
Yeah. There's a big difference between that and going on Twitter and telling everyone throw him in your lineups. He's a RB2. So
is that what you did?
Oh yeah, I planted my flag big time. But you know what?
I mean, it wasn't bad. He got split usage with Latavius Murray. You never know.
Yeah, the difference is really the rushing touchdown. Latavius Murray got some more yards, but we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation if Mark Ingram was the one that got the touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to our next game. This game was Commanders at Cowboys. The Washington Commanders playing at Dallas. Cowboys won this game 25 to the Commanders 10.
Yeah, and Cooper Rush moves to 4-0 as the Cowboys starter. I think
Dak lost his job.
No, he didn't get Wally pipped. That's not going to happen. It would be crazier things have happened. You never know, but I still think Dak is going to slide right back into the starting role on this team. Carson Wentz, he's just going to slide
right in.
Carson Wentz had a second disappointing game in a row, 170 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Curtis Samuel of the team in targets with 7 and catches, but Jahan Dotson was the one who again caught the touchdown, and he led the team in receiving yards. Carson Wentz continues to look Dotson's way in the red zone and gives him the high-value targets. What do you guys make of Jahan Dotson? Is he breaking out, or is this more fluky based on the touchdowns?
I mean, I like Dotson. I would, if I had to have one Commanders wide receiver on my team, I would prefer Curtis Samuel. But between McLaurin and Dotson, I don't think I'm starting McLaurin right now. So I would actually rather have Dotson because I feel like he could break out better at the end of the season.
I thought Dotson already didn't. He already did break out. No.
Well, there's a solid game or two, and then there's the breakout season where not necessarily the Justin Jefferson or the Jamar Chase, but
Yeah.
A guy that you can pick up off the waiver wire and then is an every week starter.
Yeah, no, I'm mostly poking fun. He absolutely is doing what we thought he was going to do in the beginning of the season, right? Which is that they're going to spread the ball around. Jahan Dotson's going to have big games, but really between Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, who's the third one there? McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin,
which is so disrespectful to
I
name
was
him
gonna
third
say,
and not remember his name.
Who's the other one there that we're trying to
what's
think
his
of?
name? Oh yeah, right. The only the wide receiver one, Terry McLaurin. We knew that it was going to get spread around to these three guys, and that's what we've been seeing happen so far. Jahan Dotson, he is playing great for a rookie. Definitely worth having on your team. He's a good flex type of player. Throw him in when you need him. Good to go.
Bingo. Boom.
And Albert gave us a little info here. Just said Jahan Dotson left the game with a hamstring injury.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I missed that while I was looking up. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
T. Robson said McLaurin is riding the bench for me going forward.
100%.
Right now, you have to. The way, what
6
he's done
targets,
this season,
though, man.
Doesn't matter if he's not getting the catches and getting the production. Although that could change if Dotson's out, with this hamstring injury. So keep an eye on that. But T. Robson, I don't blame you whatsoever for benching McLaurin if Dotson doesn't miss any time.
So McLaurin's got 18.3% of the target share here. Curtis Samuel's still number one with 20.6%. That's been closing in. Oh, sorry, this is just last three. 16.2% for Terry McLaurin. So he's still the number 2 target in this offense so far from what we've seen. I'm okay if you need to bench him, you got someone better, but I wouldn't be benching him if I don't have to.
Right. He's actually somebody that I might look to try to go acquire because he's immensely talented. And you've seen Carson Wentz do it. He's able to put up these big games. Terry McLaurin, if the person who has him on their roster is just completely frustrated and ready to sell low, trade for him, see what you can do, and throw him on your bench. And if it turns around, you could have a potential stud. He was somebody who was considered low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 coming into the season. We're still only 4 weeks in. There is a lot of season to play.
Yes, there is. All right, where were we at on this Washington side?
We're going to go start talking about the running backs on Washington, which is an absolute mess. 3 running backs, none of them got over 50 yards. None of them got a touchdown. It's not too pretty in the backfield for Washington. It's pretty much a true committee. And going into the season, Brian Robinson, the rookie, was looking like he was going to be the starter until he had an unfortunate incident. But he is potentially being activated next week. If not next week, he's coming back sooner rather than later. Joey, I'll pass this to you first because I know you're somebody that you've been saying is a good stash. So give it to me. Is he somebody that everybody should be picking up and step?
Give it to him, Joe.
Give it to me, Joey. Is Brian Robinson somebody that is worth a pickup and a stash on pretty much all leagues?
100%. I was happy stashing him in drafts this year. Today's game, now they did play Dallas, and Dallas has been great against the run this year, but nobody from the Commanders in their running game has really taken off this year. And I think it's because they thought Brian Robinson was going to be their best running back this year. I might not start him until we see him on the field for a couple of weeks. It might take a little bit, but if you've got that IR spot, you've got another week that he can sit there, and it's not a bad stash at all. Because we're also at the point in the season where there are players that we kind of know what they're going to be, and so we can start cutting loose. We can start cutting them loose. So I'm happy cutting loose some of those guys to pick up a Brian Robinson.
Yeah, he's more of a late round stash for me, not late round here, but more of a bench stash if you really need help.
Like a lottery ticket kind of guy is what I like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not dropping anybody of significance, but I completely agree, Joey. He's worth throwing on the end of your bench if you've got somebody that's droppable. On the other side of the ball, like I said, Cooper Rush is 4-0 as the starter for the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb had a pretty big day. 6 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I know there was people concerned about him, the way that he started off the season. CeeDee, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 wide receivers in the entire NFL. Nothing to worry about with CeeDee Lamb. Cooper Rush did just enough from a fantasy perspective to have an okay day. I actually did have to start him in one league. So I was pretty happy with that. Dak could be back as early as next week. We still don't know, but it sounds like if he's not back in week 5, he's certainly going to be back in week 6. Michael Gallup played for the first time this season. He didn't get too involved, but he had 2 catches and one of them was a touchdown. So that was nice to see. He's somebody that I wouldn't mind throwing on the end of my bench as well as a lottery ticket if he's still floating around on your waiver wire. But the running backs, again, Zeke Elliott rushed 19 times for a grand total of, 49 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Tony Pollard really didn't do much on the ground either, totaled 8 carries for 6 yards and a whopping 1 catch. Zeke has only 1 game this season with 10 points or more, has yet to run for 100 rushing yards, and only has 1 rushing touchdown on the season. JL, is it too early to consider Zeke a bust, or are things going to get better once Dak comes back?
I mean, it's not the explosive Zeke that we wanted. But I think it is too early to call him a bust, especially where you probably drafted him, probably 4th round or so. They fed him last week. They continue to feed him this week with 19 carries. That's amazing. So yes, he hasn't been very efficient. The efficiency just really has not been there for Zeke, and that is worrisome. He's not a bust.
Joey, what do you think?
No, not at all. I'm fine with holding on to Zeke. I don't think he's a bust by any means. Not either dropping him or benching him. If the matchup's not right, I mean, you can bench him, but I'm fine with him for now.
All right. And that's pretty much it for this game.
Cool.
All right. Move on to our next matchup here, which is Chargers at Texans. Chargers at Texans. Let me open that bad boy up.
Yeah. So the Chargers won the game handily, thanks in great part to Austin Eckler's 3 touchdowns. The Texans did provide some drama narrowing to a 2-point Chargers lead with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the 4th quarter. Justin Herbert led a 6-minute, 84-yard touchdown drive to seal the game for the visiting Chargers. Justin Herbert was 27 for 39 for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Over 275 passing yards in all 4 games this season for Justin Herbert. Absolutely what you were hoping to get when you drafted him as one of the top 4 quarterbacks. I think I had him as my QB3. So, yeah, you're happy to see what you're getting from him. Austin Eckler had a day. 13 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, 6 receptions for 49 yards, and 1 touchdown, receiving touchdown. So Austin Eckler is currently the RB1 for week 4. That might have changed, though, because Josh Jacobs has run like 7 touchdowns since we've been on the show. So I'll need to check on that. But his season's been disappointing overall. Did today shake any concerns you guys have with Eckler's usage in this offense? Jay, we'll start with you.
No, because this is kind of what you expect from Austin Eckler. Full disclosure, I don't have many shares of him this season because I felt like he was being drafted at his ceiling. I think, yes, this is an explosive offense, but these are the type of games that you love to see from Austin Eckler, but there's been some usage concerns. He hasn't been used as much in the red zone. I think he's definitely locked in as an RB1, but you're going to have these boom days and you're going to have those bust days as well. So I pretty much feel the exact same way that I did. It's definitely nice to see outside of me facing Austin Eckler in like 3 or 4 leagues. But this is pretty much what you've come to expect, why he was an early round draft pick.
Absolutely. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Austin Eckler, I have been concerned. The usage hasn't been there. He's talking before he come into the season, like, that he knows that he needs to cut back on his workload if he wants his career to last long, which is great. He should care about himself, but all those are red flags for fantasy gamers, right? Like, that's worrisome. 13 carries, 60 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 6 receptions, 49 receiving yards, and a touchdown. That right there is, as Simon and I like to say, vintage Austin Eckler.
Absolutely.
I think that we are going to see a little bit less of that throughout the season. I'm just expecting that now because we saw 3 weeks of not this. But it's encouraging to see. I'm happy that Austin Eckler, hopefully you didn't sell too low on Austin Eckler, right? This is why we say don't sell low or don't sell your highly drafted players, your superstars. Don't go and just trade them when you're panicking in week 2 because they haven't performed. This is why. Because there's a bunch of fantasy managers out there who are like, oh, I shouldn't have traded Austin Eckler for Darrell Williams in week 2. Now look what happened.
Moving on to the receivers. 10 different players were targeted in the passing game today for the Chargers, highlighted by Mike Williams, 7 receptions for 120 yards. But more importantly, maybe not more importantly, but somebody I want to more focus on, Gerald Everett, 5 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. So he continues to have a role in this offense. This is his 3rd week in a row with at least 6 targets. He has 2 touchdowns. Is Everett a top 12 tight end rest of the season, JL?
I think he is. I mean, that's not that like high of a bar to set, but Gerald Everett, he's on this fantastic offense, and Keenan Allen continues to be hurt, so Gerald Everett continues to get used. If Keenan Allen is back next week, plays the rest of the season, I think he's probably closer to the bottom of the top 12.
Yeah,
but they're showing that they want to use him, and Gerald Everett has looked good, so why not?
Absolutely. Jay, how do you feel about Gerald Everett?
Yeah, I completely agree. JL pretty much said it. The thing is, he's seeing that consistent targets with Keenan Allen out. I would definitely feel a little more comfortable if he was seeing those with Keenan Allen in. But with the state of tight end, I'm perfectly comfortable starting Gerald Everett week in and week out until he proves that that's not a good idea.
Absolutely. So I'm very excited. I never thought I would say this to talk about the Texans side of the game. Highlight of the Texans offense today was Dameon Pierce. Had every carry.
Smile just as soon as we got to the Texans. Your smile just lit up.
And I don't like the
girl
Texans
for the first time.
I love Dameon Pierce. He had every carry for the Texans today for 131 yards as well as 6 receptions in the passing game. Question for you both: how loud did I scream when Dameon Pierce had the 75-yard touchdown?
72 decibels.
+1.
Is that a lot? I don't know.
I don't know. But seriously, how do you guys feel about Pierce going the rest of the season?
I think he's a locked and loaded RB2. I mean, he's getting the volume. He showed today that he can break the big play, even when the Texans offense really doesn't seem to be doing much. He was the guy that was getting it done. Davis Mills didn't look great today. We only had 246 yards. I think if you got Dameon Pierce, you have a locked and loaded. I said that one more time for you, JL.
Locked and
running back
loaded.
2 on the season.
Yeah, I tried trading for him everywhere last week and I got a few trades accepted with him. Had to give up a little bit, but Jay, how do you feel about him?
I feel good. I don't feel as good as Jay, but I do feel good about Dameon Pierce. He played Chicago last week. He played the Chargers this week, minus Joey Bosa.
Yes,
so
that's a good point.
So, I think with the workload and the opportunity is there for Dameon Pierce, and that's what is encouraging to me. The fact that he has these break off runs and these, flashes that we're seeing, also very encouraging. I want players like that on my team. I think his consistent floor is probably a little lower, maybe more in the high end RB3 area, but Dameon Pierce, let's go. Wheels up, baby.
It was beautiful. I did scream extremely loud when it happened.
Did you break
72
some windows,
decibels.
some glass or something?
If the hurricane didn't knock my windows out, my screaming today did. Davis Mills had 26 completions on 35 attempts for 246 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. He was the QB 12 on the week up until about 30 minutes ago. And so that did change. But Brandon Cooks had the best game of his season, 7 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Rex Burkhead, he had no carries in the game, like I mentioned, because Dameon Pierce had every carry in the game. I want to say that again. But he did have 5 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. Nico Collins led the team in receiving yards with 82 on 3 receptions. So the Houston Texans are now 0-3-1. Even though there are some exciting fantasy options on the Texans, are they the worst team in the NFL?
Yeah,
probably
100%. Yeah, Brandon Cooks, Dameon Pierce are really the only guys I'm excited to start from a fantasy perspective. And up until this week, Brandon Cooks really hasn't done a whole lot. So, yeah, I think fantasy perspective, real football perspective, I would expect the Texans to be picking first in the 2023 NFL draft.
They've got some good pieces, though. So, yeah. Or the Bears.
Could be the Bears.
Could be the Bears.
Right. And that's
Could be the Panthers.
I don't know.
Could be the Panthers.
The Panthers playing a weak division. No. Just kidding.
Sure. All right, you said you were done?
Yeah, that's about all I got for this game.
That's about all I got to say about that. All right, let's get into our next game. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. 29-21. 29-21. The Eagles pulled this game out of their bum. It's a pretty fun game to watch. It was raining for a lot of the game, but it was a pretty enjoyable game to watch. It started off with a pick six, which was fantastic. And then Jamal Agnew, who was used a lot in this game, had 2 touchdowns in this game. He got a 4-yard pass from Trevor Lawrence to score to put Jacksonville up 14-0 in the first quarter. But the Eagles, they responded in the second quarter. Jalen Hurts had a rushing touchdown. Miles Sanders had a rushing touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell had a rushing touchdown. It was pretty crazy. So it brought the score. It was 20-14 going into half. Fourth quarter was the next time that we saw a score. Jake Elliott got a 28-yard field goal. Then Miles Sanders got a touchdown to put them firmly in the lead. The Jacksonville Jaguars did respond with a touchdown from Jamal Agnew, which is the one I mentioned earlier, but it wasn't enough to actually win the game. They ended up not being able to win. So Eagles move on to what are they now? Jacksonville's 2-2, and Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
They are good.
Let's start on the Jacksonville.
Philadelphia, but they are good.
They are. Yeah, they are. And I'm excited to get to them. We're starting the Jacksonville side of this. Trevor Lawrence, he had a pretty decent game until he started turning it over a bunch. 11 completions on 23 attempts, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. His offensive line looked terrible in this game, and it was raining. And so the defensive line on the Philadelphia side of the ball was just able to bat that ball out of his hand. I think he had, 2 or 3 fumbles. I don't have it in front of me, but it was not good. What was your take on Trevor Lawrence's performance this week? Are you encouraged or the opposite of that?
I watched a lot of this game, and he still looked good. It's like you said, there was a lot of ugly turnovers, but it was an ugly game, lots of rain. He held on to the ball a little too long a few times. There was one fumble that was just it was 4. Was it 4 turnovers?
4 fumbles. He lost 4 fumbles today.
Okay, that's still not good.
That's
one of them
bad.
I saw that was a missed handoff from the center. That you cough that up to the weather, but watching him play, it wasn't the ugly Trevor Lawrence that we saw last year, where you're like, is this the guy that everybody considered a generational talent? He still looked good. I am encouraged for Trevor Lawrence for this season and his future. Just one of those days. Philadelphia's had a pretty good defense, especially their secondary. Ugly weather. Better days are ahead for Trevor Lawrence.
Better days ahead. And then on the running side of this, Jamal Agnew ended up being the top. I'm sorry, he's a wide receiver. He's not even a running back.
I thought that all day, and I was looking for Agnew in the running back category. I'm like, no, I know he had 2 touchdowns.
I don't know why.
He is a wide receiver.
In my head, he's a running back.
I think last year he was listed as a running back, and that's where the confusion's at.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so, because I thought all day, he's a running back, and he wasn't anywhere in the running back waivers.
So both Etienne and James Robinson disappointed you this week. 3.2 from Travis Etienne, 8 carries, 32 yards, no touchdowns, no receiving work. Did he even get targeted? Travis Etienne got a single target the whole game.
He had one called back on a penalty too. I saw when I was watching Red Zone.
Might have been it. So yeah, this is not good, right? Most people are starting James Robinson week to week. What is your guys' take on this? What do you think?
I'm sad. I really thought ETN was going to be something this year, and now it's 4 weeks in, and we haven't really seen much production. And I hate to say this, but I'm starting to wonder if ETN was an Urban Meyer guy, and the Doug Peterson just doesn't want to use him in this offense. It's what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, we saw equal usage here today, right? So this tells me that it's probably game script in this case. But you're right. Like throughout the season, we haven't really seen that.
Yeah.
But I do think this one, they're just trying to keep up, and I think they weren't able to use the run game a ton. Just got schemed out a bit, which happens. Blake in here saying Jags playing better. No matter what happens, it will be better without Urban Meyer by the end of the season. Yeah, I think they're already. I think they were better. I think they were better as soon as they fired Urban Meyer.
I think we're all better without Urban Meyer. I really do feel
just a catch-all statement.
Yeah.
And then on the wide receivers, there's not much to talk about here. I think it was overwhelmingly disappointing. Christian Kirk was the most targeted, 9 targets in this game, 2 receptions and got 60 yards out of it, no touchdowns. Jamal Agnew was really the guy that blew up. He got the 2 touchdowns on 6 targets and 4 receptions for 50 yards. But you're not trusting Jamal Agnew week to week, right, guys?
Nope, no interest. Just one of those games, especially in the NFL. You know, they have crazy game setup sometimes, and one guy just randomly goes off. Like with the Colts today, it was Mo Alley Cox catching 2 touchdowns.
Oh, man.
That was annoying.
It's just
but good for
one
him.
of those
so
things.
Happy to see that.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure he's a fantastic guy, but nobody wants to see that for fantasy. Although I did have to start him in one league, so I was kind of
nice.
I did. So
it's always nice when that happens.
20-something points for Mo Alley Cox today.
I've had to start Will Disley twice this year, and both times he scored a touchdown, and I'm kind of freaking out about it. Like no one's freaking out as much as I am about it. I'm like, something's wrong. Why does this keep happening? I'm kind of afraid to put him in next week if I have to. Like it's gonna ruin it.
You the Will Disley whisperer? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't ask for that.
You just, you know what? Gifts are given; they're not asked for. So
that's true. That's true. T. Ross is saying, "Go Birds!" That is a good segue to move on to the Eagles side of this. Albert asking, "How do y'all feel about Miles Sanders rest of season?" And Miles Sanders is the man to talk about in this game.
Yeah.
27 carries, 134 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions, 22 receiving yards, 28.6 fantasy points. Miles Sanders is the boss this week.
Yes.
28.6. Woo. Joey, how you feeling about Miles Sanders rest of season?
This is the type of usage you should be giving Miles Sanders. He's extremely talented. Please give him this work. Please, please, please. Because you can see what he can do with it. If they give him even 20 carries a game going forth, I feel great about Miles Sanders rest of season.
What about you, Jay?
I would like to personally apologize to Miles Sanders. I was a Miles Sanders truther from his rookie year. I love his talent. I finally gave up on him this year, and it wasn't because of him. It was because of the Eagles. I never thought they would give him this type of usage. Like Joey said, he said it perfect. If you give him 15 to 18 touches a game, he's an every week starter, in my opinion. You know, more along the lines of running back too, but he always has a high yards per carry. He can break the long play. I love Miles Sanders, and if they continue to give him most of the carries in this backfield, he's going to have a really, really good season, and I'm going to be upset that I gave up on him.
Are you sure? Do you want to rethink everything you just said? Because Trey Sermon got 2 carries for 19 yards in this game. Could be Trey Sermon season.
You know what? It is Trey Sermon season.
Or Trey Sermon season, as they say.
Trey Sermon? That work? No.
We'll workshop it. We'll workshop
I'm better. I'm better than that. I apologize.
I'm with you, Jay. I have been down on Miles Sanders, but I also have not seen them ever do this, where they gave him 27 carries and the next running back got 5 carries. That's fantastic. If they do that again, then yes, I'm in. Let's go. That's always been the thing.
How much do you think this has to do with Boston Scott being out and it being a ton of rain?
I think that has more to do with the Kenneth Well, the ton of rain, I think, affects it a lot.
Yeah.
The Kenneth Gainwell, I think the Boston Scott being out helps Kenneth Gainwell more than it helps Miles Sanders. But I think it probably helps Miles Sanders too.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah, it's not something excuse me, I would trust until we see in a regular game with Boston Scott in. I'm still excited for Miles Sanders rest of the season, but I'm not buying it until we see it with those guys at the whole backfield available.
Yeah. And then the receiving options in this game, AJ Brown, 5 receptions, 95 yards. Dallas Goedert got 5 receptions for 72 yards. And then Devontae Smith pulling an old classic one, 3 receptions, 17 yards for 3.2 fantasy points. Doing what I'm guarantee you this is what he did to a bunch of fantasy managers. They didn't start him because they weren't confident in the first 2 weeks. And then the third week, he goes off, scores like 30 points. And then you're bench. Like, oh, yeah, Devontae Smith time. Put him in your lineup. Boom, 3.2. He just divides his own points from the last week by 10. What a ding dong. It's not his fault, but I'm just mad about it because that person was me that I just described.
he got.
Damn it. Oh, it sucks. That's all I got on this game. I'm going to end it on a sour note. Anything you guys want to add on the receiving options on the Eagle side?
Yeah, A.J. Brown had a touchdown called back. Devontae Smith, while he didn't do much, he was targeted in the red zone. Better, they're going to be fine. You got to be happy with what A.J. Brown did. He could have had an even bigger game, but it just happens sometimes.
Yeah, I'm throwing a lot of what happened in this game out, except for the Miles Sanders stuff. Just because
we don't want to because we like it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But no, I mean, maybe Miles Sanders showed that coaching staff exactly what he can be today, and so this might be the one great takeaway from this game. I hope so.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's get on to our next game, which I believe is Bills at Ravens.
Oof.
It is Bills at Ravens, and I'm sorry, JL, that we have to talk about this game. You are the noted Ravens fan on the show. They came out hot. 2 first quarter touchdowns with J.K. Dobbins, but those would be the last touchdowns that the Baltimore Ravens scored on the day. Buffalo would come back from a 17-point deficit to win on a last-second field goal, and I was just pulling up. The Bills had lost 39 straight when trailing by 17-plus points. The Bills' win over the Ravens is the largest comeback victory in Josh Allen's career. That was from NFL Research, tweeted that out. So pretty exciting stuff. It was a heck of a game. And so let's see where we go from there. Lamar Jackson, he had an okay game. As always, he saves you from a fantasy perspective with his rushing production, 73 yards on the ground. He had 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions, 1 which they went for it on 4th down, which, you know what? Some people are going to say that they're, the Ravens are crazy for doing that, but it worked for him last year. Was it Monday night or Sunday night against the Raiders? So you win some, you lose some. I love that that Harbaugh has the confidence in Lamar Jackson to, when he wants to go for it, go for it. So the story from an offensive perspective, though, was J.K. Dobbins. Like I said, he had 2 first-half touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving, 13 carries, 41 yards, and he caught all 4 of his targets for 22 yards. Let's keep it simple, guys. Is J.K. Dobbins back? Is he in your lineups every week from here on out?
The game was rain. There was a lot of rain. It was a windy game, so you could make an argument that they were just force feeding Dobbins, but he looked great. He looked fantastic. Those 13 carries, 41 yards. It looked like they were feeding him. I think Dobbins is, whenever we've seen him play well, it's been on efficiency. And my big worry for J.K. Dobbins is that the volume won't consistently be there. But this is encouraging to see. This is why we were drafting J.K. Dobbins where he was being drafted this offseason, because it was so low that it made sense, and he's going to put up games like this. He looked great. He looked great from what I saw.
Yeah, he looked really good. This is kind of what I've been waiting to see from him. Even though if you take the touchdowns away, it's not a whole lot of fantasy points. It's enough fantasy points. This is what and the fact that Drake was inactive. Justice Hill, he had 8 carries for 45 yards. I mean, it looks like Justice Hill is still going to be part of this backfield, but Dobbins is getting the lion's share of it. I am fine starting Dobbins.
The Ravens, it's not the Lions.
Why did I say Lions? Ravens. Why did I say Lions?
Raven share.
It's a Raven. You said Lions share. It was a joke.
Okay, I missed
that. Those are the best jokes, the ones where you have to tell people that they were jokes.
When you have to explain a joke, Joey, I know you're supposed to be the comedy guy, but people love it when you have to explain jokes. It makes it that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Rashad Bateman had another disappointing day, but honestly, I think it had to do more with the Ravens passing game struggling with the weather. He'll be fine. Same thing with Mark Andrews. Bateman led the team in targets with 6. Better days are ahead for both of these gentlemen. On the Buffalo side of the ball, Josh Allen had an okay day, again, saving you with his rushing, 70 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, 213 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown to Isaiah McKenzie, who did leave this game with a concussion, but over the past 2 games, he's out-targeted Gabe Davis 15-9. He's had more receptions, 11-4, more yardage, 97-50, and he's had 2 touchdowns to Gabe Davis's 0. Now, the concussion definitely is going to throw a monkey wrench into this situation. But, of course, first and foremost, we want him to be healthy. That's the thing that matters. But if he is able to come back, has he emerged? I know we touched on this last week, but now that's 2 weeks in a row with Isaiah McKenzie outperforming Gabe Davis. JL, is he officially the number 2 option in Buffalo, or is this going to continue to change week to week?
It all depends on Gabe Davis's injury. That's the thing that's limiting Gabe Davis. He's the number 2 in this offense when healthy. When all things are healthy, Gabe Davis is the guy. Isaiah McKenzie is the wide receiver 3 to me. He's the clear wide receiver 3 in this offense over Jamison Crowder. And he's made that known with his 13.8% target share over the last 3 games. So yeah, Gabe Davis, once he's good, he'll be back. He'll be good. I just said the same thing. Good. He'll be good. He'll be back. He'll be good.
He'll be good. He'll be back. He'll be good. Joey, is Gabe Davis somebody you're looking to try to buy low?
If Isaiah McKenzie's injured, yes. Other than that, Gabe Davis had a great week 1. I was really happy to see what he had. Outside of that, I'm not very excited having Gabe Davis on my teams at all.
Yeah, honestly,
I know it's kind of disappointing to hear, but I don't want any part of it.
I'm with you, Joey. I lean more towards the. I think it's gonna be week to week. I do think Gabe Davis is probably a little higher in the pecking order, but I think they're both the secondary options after Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
It was nice to see. Go ahead.
I feel like if I have Davis on my team, I almost have to start him, just because of they're towards the end of the draft season where I was drafting him. So if I have him, I feel like I need to have him in my lineup because I might not have a better option. Because you remember that nostalgia clouds view. It's one of the things I need to get over sometimes.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, that's one thing. As soon as the draft is over, draft capital means nothing for your fantasy.
Exactly.
Teams. You got to do what's best for your team. So even if you did, you spent up for if he's not performing, don't hamstring your teams.
Exactly.
I disagree,
but
partially. Yeah, I do. I think it depends on your strategy. It's like why if you made that decision to go with that player that high up, then that's the strategy you took. I'm not saying that you have to start them every single week, no matter what, but I'm saying to treat them as if they are a flex player or like someone that like a late round player. You're treating them the same exact way just because of recent performance. I think that's a mistake because you're not really abiding. You're essentially going down a strategy and then just like deciding not to.
And I'm not saying that's after 1 week, but we're 4 weeks in. Let me throw this scenario to you, JL. Who are you starting right now, Curtis Samuel or Gabe Davis?
Curtis Samuel.
Oh, there you go. That's pretty much my point, that a guy that was available off waivers versus a guy that was getting taken in the middle rounds of fantasy drafts.
Well, I wasn't taking Gabe Davis there, so but it makes sense.
Right,
yeah.
Right. That's the point I'm trying to make, that don't be
which I'm fine
married.
With. Right. I'm not saying you need to make your start sit decisions based off of draft capital, but your roster decisions you should.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying drop Gabe Davis or anything like that. By no means. No, absolutely. That's pretty much it for this game. There was nothing else from a fantasy perspective. It was a great game to watch. It was, kind of sloppy with the weather. Fun for the Buffalo Bills fans, not so fun for the Baltimore Ravens fans.
That was a very fun game for the Ravens fans too. The outcome wasn't great, but
right.
Do we have an update on Poe?
Yes, he's out for the season.
Is he?
They have replacements. It's Edgar and Allen are the replacement for this year. So
are they? I don't. Is that?
No, I'm serious.
Is it Edgar and Allen?
Yep, no, Edgar and Allen.
It sounded.
They were like the original mascots.
Sounded right. There were 3 if you look at the original helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. Jackson in here asking, would you guys trade Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow for Lamar Jackson, Curtis Samuel, and Deontay Johnson? What do you think, Joey? Lamar Jackson, Curtis Samuel, Deontay Johnson.
I would probably keep Chase and Burrow. That's right down the middle though.
Let me ask you, Jackson, why? Why do you want to make this trade? Because you're Jamar and Burrow and Lamar are close enough. I would give the edge to Lamar Jackson, but they're close enough. They're in the same tier. And then Jamar Chase for Curtis Samuel and Deontay. Now, actually, I would keep Jamar and Burrow if you're on that side.
If you lost, let's say you had Gabe Davis and you're done. You're done, but you want to wait and see. So I guess I understand why Jamar for Curtis and Deontay. We know what Jamar Chase can be.
Yeah, and Curtis Samuel and Deontay can never be that. They are not talented enough to be that. And so Curtis Samuel, he's also one of those players who I think you're buying a bit on a bubble, or it's like his value's hyperinflated a little bit because of just his strong start to the season that no one was expecting. But I don't expect his target share to continue to stay at whatever it was. I've just read it off a second ago, but I don't expect to stay at that. And I wouldn't make this move.
Curtis Samuel's also dealt with injuries his entire career. So, who knows if he's going to stay on the field the whole season. So yeah, I'm with you. Lamar's the best player in this deal. But I don't think the difference between Lamar and Burrow is worth giving up Jamar Chase for Curtis and Deontay.
No.
So he said, because I have almost too much depth on my team, would be Burrow, Lenny, Connor, Kupp, Chase, TJ Hawkinson, and Keenan Allen at flex with Dameon Pierce and Godwin on the bench. Am I understanding this correctly? That then he's trading for Burrow?
No,
you would receive Burrow and Chase. Boom, nail it. Do it. Take that trade.
Oh, yeah.
If you can get it. Yeah.
Fire it up.
100%.
Yep. Great move. You want to consolidate just like you're doing right there with when your team stack like that.
That is the way to trade. Consolidate and tier your players up. 100%.
I guess we read that question backwards. Sorry, Jackson. But that's definitely what you want to do.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Good job drafting, by the way.
Sorry, Mr. Jackson.
That looks great.
Fantastic job drafting. All right. You done with this game, Jay?
I am.
All right. Let's get on to the next one, which was
Jets
at Steelers. Jets and Steelers. Boom. Let's go.
So the Jets won this game 24-20. In Zach Wilson's first game back with the Jets, he leads a 65-yard touchdown drive that concluded in a Breece Hall touchdown run. The other big note we got was our first look at Steelers' first-round draft pick, Kenny Pickett. You get to have one of these guys on your dynasty team, Zach Wilson or Kenny Pickett. Who are you guys choosing? You only get to have one.
Ooh, I would go Zach Wilson.
Would you? Why?
Because I like his receiving options. I think that this game was a little weird, man. It's a little weird to see Zach Wilson in there, but he played decently well.
He did play good.
Yeah.
Jay, would you rather have Pickett or Wilson?
I think I'm going to go Wilson as well. Not only the draft capital. Yes, they were both, first round picks, but Zach Wilson was the second overall. Same thing. Although, Pickett's got good weapons as well with Claypool, with Deontay, George Pickens.
Got the rushing touchdowns, which helps them in this game.
Tiebreaker is going to be the baby hands. I don't want the guy with the baby hands.
Oh, I thought you were going to take the baby hands. Thought you preferred little baby hands.
No baby hands.
Since the Jets won the game, we'll look at this. We'll look at their side first. Zach Wilson was 18 for 36, 252 yards passing, one passing touchdown, and one receiving touchdown. You don't get to see that often. It was kind of fun to watch. 2 interceptions, though. Breece Hall, 19 total touches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. This is Breece Hall's third game in a row with at least 13 PPR fantasy points. Are you guys comfortable starting him going forth?
Yes, I am. Yes, I absolutely am. I know it's not like the blow the roof off type of rookie start to their season, but that's promising. He's getting enough work that it's returning consistent fantasy points for you. That's fantastic. And he's going to have games where he pops off. Just wait.
Looks like you agree, Jay.
If somebody doesn't buy in, I was saying last week, I was saying this entire season so far, Breece Hall is somebody I'm trying to acquire everywhere I can. I think before the end of this season, he's going to have this backfield pretty much to himself. He's a much better talent than Michael Carter. I like Michael Carter, don't get me wrong. But Breece Hall is somebody that I want as many shares of as possible. And I'm starting them where I have them.
I made a trade for Breece Hall last week. I believe I sent it to both of you guys just to be brag off. I sent off Curtis Samuel for Breece Hall, straight up. The guy who had no receivers at all, and he was ecstatic. He was so happy to get Curtis Samuel, and he was so happy that I started to second guess myself, like, oh my god, did I make a mistake?
Did I make a big
Is this
mistake
the Curtis Samuel breakout year? And then I get what I get out of Hall today. I'm so happy. So yeah. Corey Davis led the team with 7 targets, 5 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. Elijah Moore, 3 receptions for 53 yards. Garrett Wilson, 2 receptions for 54 yards. So on the season, Corey Davis, 26 targets. Garrett Wilson, 39 targets. Elijah Moore, 25 targets. Which Jets receiver do you like most rest of season? Jay?
Why did you have to come to me first?
Because I went to jail first on the last question.
Probably Garrett Wilson. And it's very close with him and Elijah Moore. I know a lot of people have been down on Moore the way that the season has started, but it's still early, and they're both great talents. I think that they will wind up not necessarily as highly regarded as a T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, but that type of duo. I think they're both going to have big games, but I like the ceiling on Garrett Wilson just a little more. I think he's a slightly better wide receiver, and I'm excited to see what he can do with Zach Wilson under center.
Yeah. JL?
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson's number one there. Target share 25% in the last 3 games, 21.5% on the season, compared to Elijah Moore's 13.8%. So yeah, I think Garrett Wilson is the number one that I'd want, and then it'd be Elijah Moore. Corey Davis, man, someone in one of the streams this week was talking about Corey Davis. Zach Wilson's coming back. You worried about Corey Davis being
Was
the guy
it Coop?
now?
I think I remember Coop saying that.
Coop. And I was like, blah, blah. And now look at it. Look at him go.
Well,
Corey Davis.
Did you say that one more time? I didn't catch that the first time.
Look at him go.
This situation's kind of reminded me last year in Tampa Bay with Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin, when every week it'd be a different guy was number one, and you never really knew who was going to be the best receiver that day. But they all kind of got work. I'm wondering if that's how this is going to shake out this season. Moving on to the Steelers side of the ball. Kenny Pickett, he only played about 2 quarters total, but he was 10 for 13, 120 passing yards. No passing touchdowns, but he did have 6 carries for 15 yards and 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on top of it, although one of them wasn't really his fault. Najee Harris had 18 carries for 74 yards. Pat Freiermuth led the team in targets with 9, finishing with 7 receptions for 85 yards. This is Pat Freiermuth's 3rd game with at least 7 targets. Is he approaching elite tight end tier talent? Approaching, not there, but is he getting there?
Appreciate the way that you phrased that, Joey.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat Freiermuth, he's got 23.8% target share on the season. That's hot for a tight end, guys. That's real hot. Yeah. Give me some Freiermuth.
I wouldn't say quite elite status. If that target share continues with Kenny Pickett, it's the offense is going to look a little different, hopefully better with him under center. But yeah, Friar Tuck is somebody who is definitely in my lineup every single week. He's a must start for tight ends.
Yeah, it's well known that I love him very much. George Pickens had the best game of his rookie season, 6 receptions on 8 targets for 102 yards. The other 2 Steelers receiving options were pretty unremarkable, with Deontay Johnson, 2 receptions for 11 yards, and Chase Claypool had the big goose egg on 2 targets. That pretty much wraps up this game. The Jets are kind of exciting, so I'm interested to see, now that Zach Wilson's back. Yeah, how they're going to look.
They've got some weapons. They got 2 usable running backs. They got a couple, 3 good wide receivers. And CJ Uzomah still hasn't even been playing. He's been injured. Yeah. So Conklin's been playing pretty well. But once you get Uzomah back, this running game could even be better because he's a very good run blocker as well. So
yeah, with New England being down Mac Jones for probably a couple weeks still, and we don't know what's going on with Tua. I mean, the Jets could end up sneaking into wild card conversation. It's weird to say, but we might see it happen. So yeah,
crazy. And there's an extra wild card now too, right? So there's throw that extra one in there.
They gave me one too, so I have a wild card too. So
you got an extra one? I know they gave you one. That's pretty cool.
They just gave me a Uno reverse. But.
Uno reverse.
That was my Labor Day present from Daddy FanDuel. Gave me a wild card.
Nice. All right, let's move on to our next game. Chicago Bears, New York Giants. The New York Giants pulled out a win 20-12 against the Chicago Bears. This was a game of field goals for the Bears and the Bears. Michael Badgley, field goal in the beginning, 3-0. And then Daniel Jones answered with a nice rushing touchdown, 21-yarder, which brought it to 3-7. Michael Badgley, 22-yard field goal to bring it to 6-7. It's like, I think, Michael Badgley was the only Bear who scored points today.
Really?
That is true. That is a true fact. Daniel Jones had 2 rushing touchdowns through 8 completions on 13 attempts, 71 yards, and had 68 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns for 21.64 fantasy points. That's kind of wild stat, isn't it, guys?
That's a weird stat line.
That is a weird stat line. Daniel Jones for fantasy. When can you start him? Can you start him? What is the telltale signs? How can you predict?
If you have literally nobody else to start, that's when you can start Daniel Jones. You're praying for rushing production like this.
No,
because he looked bad. He's not the answer. He's so bad.
Do the Giants play the Lions? If yes, start them.
Then start Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Yo,
I need to look up.
Jack at me, bro.
What'd you say?
Stop effing me out of money. JK, go Bills. You joke, Cody, but we get a lot of those, so that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. So Daniel Jones, he is what he is. We'll just start on the New York side of this ball since I kind of brought us over there. Saquon Barkley,
good at football.
That man was made in heaven's oven, I think. 31 carries, 146 yards, 2 receptions, 16 receiving yards for 17.2 half PPR fantasy points. Is Saquon Barkley the RB1 forever? No, is he can he realistically finish as an RB1 this year? Jay, what do you think?
As the RB1, 100%.
Let's go top 5. Let's refine this top 5. Can Saquon Barkley finish top 5 this season?
Yes, 100%, without a doubt.
100%. With that, he will.
He can. That you didn't say will.
Oh, okay, I'm just clarifying what you said.
Let me put it this way.
I know what I said. I didn't know what you said.
If he stays healthy, yes, he will. I will throw a guarantee on that. If he plays close to all games, misses maybe 1 or 2, he's going to be top 5. He's getting the usage with an offensive. Well, the head coach Brian Daboll is the one calling the plays, but it's nice to not have Joe Judge and Jason Garrett and actually have forward-thinking offensive coordinator and forward-thinking head coach. That let's see, the best player on your team, Saquon Barkley. Give him the ball. He's getting tons of usage. You're putting him in creative ways, like you said, because the quarterback got hurt. He was back there under Wildcat. Saquon Barkley
handing it off to Matt Breida.
Yeah, God, don't make me throw up. He's just he's a stud, and he's got those quads working. And when he's fully healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the entire league.
Yeah. He's got something else going for him that I like. I mean, Jay, you hit all the points. But when Kadarius Toney comes back, because defenses, opposing teams are going to want to scheme up for Barkley. Well, Toney's coming back, so I always like when a team has some changes going through the season. It's kind of like what the Bucks I thought they were going to be doing this year with changing the look every few weeks. With let's hold off Godwin for a little while. But with Toney coming back a little later, it's going to change the look of this team a little bit. Maybe Daniel Jones starts firing off a little bit. And teams need to back off a little bit. And then Barkley can continue this workload.
Not happening.
Not happening.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
But
says Jay. The receiving options, the answer to that question coming into this week was no. On. Yeah, I mean, where the heck is what's his name? Mr. Ritchie.
Yeah,
Guy Ritchie plays for the Giants now.
Richie James. What happened to
Richie
James?
Where the heck was he?
That's why you can't, like Simon was, talking about the Bears this offseason with, somebody has to catch the ball. That was the attitude with Richie James going into this game. Well, The Giants proved
There's
they
a guy
don't.
named David Sills.
David Sills. He was a undrafted rookie. He's actually wearing Odell Beckham's old number 13, which I'm glad. I hope he sticks around because I have an Odell Beckham jersey that I would love to start wearing again and just call it a David Sills jersey. But the one thing I will say, Joey, you mentioned Kadarius Toney coming back. There's been some talk that he's not necessarily the favorites of this coaching staff and the front office. I'm kind of interested in potentially stashing Wan'Dale Robinson because they play a similar type of game, and this regime drafted him. And I'm excited to see what Brian Daboll has in store for him. So he's somebody that I'm with you. I think Toney's worth stashing at the end of your bench as a lottery ticket if you have an extra spot. But I'm interested to see what Wan'Dale Robinson's going to do as well.
No, I agree with you on that. I just with Toney, it has more to do with look what you have here. I mean, look at
he's electric if he could ever just get on the field. He's
exactly.
Electric.
You guys want to take a guess on what currently Richie James' target share is on this offense, this New York Giants offense?
12%.
Okay.
32%.
Right in the middle of you two, 20%. 20% of the target share is Richie James, who didn't even show up today.
And the Giants are 3-1 with Richie James.
What is life? What is life? Let's move on to the Chicago side of this godforsaken New York Giants team. Darnell Mooney, welcome to the NFL. 4 receptions, 94 receiving yards, 11.4 fantasy points, which is just enough to make you angry that you left him on your bench probably. Justin Fields. That's you? That's yeah, I think that's most people. Justin Fields, 11 completions on 22 attempts. I think that's probably the most attempts he's had all season in a single game for 174 yards. And he also rushed for 52 yards, 10.16 fantasy points. What do you guys, was this promising at all to you guys watching this game? I mean, this is like they're finally a nice, easy matchup. You know, what did they have before? The Texans, they had the 49ers in the rain. Now they got the Giants at MetLife. What was your take on this offense?
I gave Justin Fields like a 2-week extension to say, oh, okay, well, you know, that first game against the 49ers, we'll let it go because of the weather. But then last week versus Houston, he didn't look great. And this stat line doesn't really, you know, put too much confidence in for me. So I didn't draft a whole lot of Fields. I did take some, but I'm not happy with any pieces I have of him.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joey. Like I pretty much threw out week 1 because of the rain game. You can't give a guy a fair shake when there's a monsoon like that. But he's just not looked good. Like I'm concerned. I do have a fair share of him because I was excited, you know, thinking that this team was going to build around him. But you got it. Like I'm honestly starting to wonder if Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback of this team next year.
Yeah,
it's weird because. Did the Bears win this game? I can't remember.
No.
I keep trying to scroll up and I forget that you've got the page open, Jalen. I do this every week. It's fine. I'm not really that upset. I'm just a good actor. But yeah, I just no much confidence in Justin Fields right now.
No much confidence.
How
much confidence I got in Justin Fields. Khalil Herbert, 19 carries, 77 yards, and a reception for 24 yards. I think a lot of us expected more of him this week. A little disappointed, but he looked good when he was rushing, and he got a lot of opportunities. So now it's wait and see. I think he's the type of guy that even if Dave Montgomery comes back, you might want to stash. I'm not doing that unless I have to, but in certain contexts, I will.
Yeah, I think Herbert's the running back of the future with the Bears, regardless of if Fields is there next year or not, because it doesn't factor into it. Because Dave Montgomery, he doesn't have a contract after this year, Chicago. So I think this is Herbert's job. I'm a little afraid if when Montgomery comes back, they just try to run him into the ground, kind of like what the Cowboys did with DeMarco Murray a few years back, just because like, all right, he's not going to be here next year because we know what we have been waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Herbert. And today's game, it was a little bit disappointing, but still kind of, I mean, those numbers are, if you put that in as a starting running back in a PPR league, you got over 10 points. Almost 11 points. So hey, it's serviceable for sure.
It absolutely is. All right, we're gonna move on to our next game here. Titans at the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh God.
Yeah, and we can say welcome back, Derrick Henry. Had his best game of the season so far, rushed 22 times, 114 yards and a touchdown. Also chipped in 3 catches for 33 yards. So he definitely looked like vintage King Henry. I'm going to get into this one really quick. Would you guys use this opportunity to try to trade Derrick Henry? Is this an opportunity to sell high, or do you guys think he's back?
Yeah, in redraft, I'm not letting Henry go. I like, it's King Henry. Anything you trade for him, you're probably not going to get anyone better, to be honest.
Yeah, that many attempts is just too tempting, right? That's 22, last week 20. Week 2 was the anomaly with just 13. I think that had more to do with the game against Buffalo. And then 21 week 1. So he's averaging like close to 20 attempts a game. That's massive.
Okay.
And that's a receiving game. Man, the last 2 games, holy cow, they're using Derrick Henry in the receiving game. That's wild. Today he had 3 receptions on 5 targets, 33 yards. That's
33
wild.
yards. That's what you love to see. That's what, if he's able to stay healthy and productive, that's what puts him over the top. That's why he was having such a monster year last year. He was finally getting used in the passing game. So they don't have very many pass catching options that are doing much of anything. So it could very easily continue to be the case. There was a Robert Woods, aka Bobby Tree sighting, 4 catches on 4 targets and a touchdown. Treylon Burks, we've seen some flashes from him this season, but he's been inconsistent to say the least. It was a lot of talk of him being raw coming in. So it's not unexpected to see him having an up and down early start to his career. Ryan Tannehill played okay, but not great fantasy day. He had 2 touchdowns, but less than 150 passing yards. Joey, is there anybody on this Titans team that you're willing to start in fantasy outside of Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw Robert Woods in a flex, and coming up into bye weeks, if I need a wide receiver, I don't mind Robert Woods. A question about Treylon Burks: Did he get carted off the field, or did I hear wrong?
I did hear that too.
When I was watching Red Zone, they mentioned that he got carted off the field, but he might have come back.
I was going to say, because I looked at my injury stuff before we started, and I did not see.
He might have come back then. I know DK Metcalf got carted off today.
He was sporting crutches and a boot after the game.
Okay, I apologize. Okay. I missed that. So that's actually some stock up for Bobby Trees. I'm with you, Joey.
Yeah. It's saying like there's not a ton of details out there about how bad it is. But that's significant if it is.
Yeah. It makes me wonder about Kyle Phillips too. He was inactive last week, but he played this week. I guess he didn't do much. I don't see his name on the stat page here, but Treylon Burks is out. I'm interested.
Akine would be interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. On the Colts side of the ball, Matt Ryan threw for 350 yards for the second time this season, threw 2 touchdowns and an interception, which was his best game of the season. So, if Matt Ryan had a good game, his number 1 wide receiver, Michael Pittman, did too, right? Wrong. Mo Alley-Cox, like we talked about earlier, 6 catches, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yes, we love us some Bobby Trees. JL, did you ever make one of your pictures with Bobby Trees? Did you ever do that one?
I did.
Okay, I thought you did. You had your Darnell Mooney with his face in the moon.
With the moon. I got Taysom Hill. You know what? I was just starting to do one on Friday.
Have you done Rashad Penny? I think you should do
I did Rashad Penny. I did a Rashad Penny.
Okay. Shows how much I pay attention to you.
It was a while ago. I put this out.
But getting back to this game, Mo Alley-Cox, Alec Pierce, and Michael Pittman all had the team. Sorry, I lost my place on my notes. They all tied for the team lead with targets with 6. I'm not interested in Mo Alley-Cox. Michael Pittman is definitely the wide receiver 1 on this team. But I have to say, I'm a little intrigued by Alec Pierce. The past 2 games, he's had 11 targets. He's averaging over 10 points a game in PPR leagues in those 2 games. And it seems like he could be developing as the wide receiver 2 for Matt Ryan and the Colts. Is he somebody that you're interested in off of the waiver wire, JL?
Sorry, which guy? I was reading some of these comments.
Alec Pierce.
Yeah. I think I would be interested in him just from the perspective of a rookie wide receiver who could pop off. Through the first 3 weeks, he had 2 targets, and then he didn't play week 2, then 5 targets, and then 6 targets, giving him an 8.7% target share in this offense. I don't know that he's going to be able to consistently do this week to week. His 80 receiving yards came off of just 4 receptions, but he's someone who you should stash if you have a deep enough league for sure.
Very interest in Alec Pierce?
Yeah, outside of Pittman, he's the only receiving option I'd want on this team. I can't tell you which tight end's going to go off which week for Indianapolis right now. Last week it was Jelani Woods. This week it was Mo Cox. Who knows what's going to happen next week? So, yeah, Pierce and Pittman seem like the 2 safer options. Are you concerned with JT?
That is just where I was going next. Jonathan Taylor he disappointed again. 20 carries for a measly 42 yards, 1 catch for 1 yard, and no touchdowns. He had a monster week 1, but since then his fantasy points have been 7.3, 12.1, and 3.3. Is it time to start questioning JT's status as a high-end RB1, or is this just a tough stretch? Joey, what you think?
I mean,
go ahead, either one.
I was going to say he got injured in this game. He went down with an ankle injury, and so like that absolutely affects his status going forward. We have to keep an eye on that. It looks like they might be undergoing further testing from the latest I'm seeing here.
It doesn't seem to be serious, but he could lose some time, especially with the short week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was the other thing, because they were saying that, I think, during the broadcast, is that or one of you were saying maybe that he's on a short week because he plays on Thursday. So
versus Denver.
Right. So that is significant. I mean, at least for this week, you have to imagine they'll sit him. A high ankle sprain is no joke. It's no joke.
No, and those linger if it's a high ankle sprain. So
high ankle sprain.
If you mentioned a little bit ago, Jay, if you could, would you trade King Henry? If you can find somebody that will trade you Derrick Henry for Jonathan Taylor, I would make that trade in a heartbeat. And I would go much lower than that right now with Jonathan Taylor.
That's interesting.
So you're looking to get rid of him while you can.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a true high ankle sprain, I don't want to deal with that. I don't, because I know how it lingers with running backs. So he'll be fine 2 week stretch, and then it'll get re-aggravated, and he'll be, and the thing is a lot of guys will try to play through a high ankle sprain. And so it'll never really heal up until they have an off season. So I don't want to mess with it.
We got a comment in here from Val's the GOAT, and they're just about to kick off here. So we're going to head out soon. But Val says, I'm up 31, but my opponent has Mahomes, Kittle, and San Francisco defense. Is it over? What do you think, Joey? What percent do you give him
to win?
Or her?
Or her. Val's the GOAT. I'm going to give you a 30% chance of winning this game. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd rather have Mahomes and Kittle. You
said that with a smile, though, so I think you do want to be the bearer of bad news. Tom Brady, which is on my TV, so I smiled. Sorry.
He always does that when Tommy walks in the room. Yeah, I think I'd give you less than 50%, but not the worst. So I think 30% is actually pretty fair assumption there.
Go 40. I'm a little more confident than these gentlemen, but yeah.
All right.
Underdog, but slightly.
Way to play it up to the
Come
chat.
here now saying, dang,
bonk.
And then Trent Arnold doing the moonwalk, JL Garofalo. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Come here now asking a wide receiver for JT. My other running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Saquon. So what other wide receivers? What wide receiver would you go for?
He was saying, should I trade for a wide receiver?
I'd hold on to JT with that, because we don't know. J.K. Dobbins looked great this week, but
T. Higgins for JT.
T. Higgins, heartbeat. I will take. I'm very high on T. Higgins. So
okay. Yeah.
What do you think, Joe? You gonna say T. Higgins?
I wouldn't do T. Higgins. I get why
if you need a wide receiver.
If you need a wide receiver, I would shoot for somebody like Stephon Diggs. Like, honestly.
You're not getting Stephon Diggs.
I know you're not, so you should shoot for that.
Which is just, it's kind of silly, though.
But if you could get, JT and Curtis Samuel for Stephon Diggs, then, that's, something like that.
I know a guy that traded Curtis Samuel and got Breece Hall last week, so you never know what could happen.
That's
You
true.
never
And
know.
The worst thing they can do is, oh, Kelsey touchdown. No, boo. Go Bucks. You never know what could happen. Always send those trades out. The worst thing someone could do is say no. Sometimes they have that little chat feature where they call you bad names, but really nobody ever means that.
Yeah, they don't mean that.
No.
All right, I think that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in to our Sunday night recap presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to FanDuel on YouTube. Follow them on Twitch and TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat. They're on all those, putting out amazing content every single day. And we are on there all the time, our beautiful faces. So make sure you do that. You guys ready to go watch some Sunday Night Football?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get over there. Have a good night.